Awesome. We're going to have to ask how to say this name, I think, at the beginning, but I don't even necessarily want to try. We have a caller from Norway. Why don't you give us the pronunciation of your name?
Well, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's Yngve.
Yngve. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yngve. All right, I'll do my best. Yngve, what did you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, I look at myself as a doubting theist. That's kind of how I look upon myself. And I have started reading a lot about Islam lately. And I find the whole notion about this life being a test a very good argument. And I was looking forward to hear what you both think about that aspect of Islam.
So I'm curious, what do you mean the argument that all of this is a test? I'm aware that there are people who would claim, for example, that the entirety of life is some test that a God is doing to you. But I don't know. I mean, are you talking to like an informal argument, or is that the entirety of what you're talking about?
Well, I find it convincing that is an argument that I believe in. I can see that there are why.
Yeah. So, for example,
yeah, it's
hang on.
Yeah.
If you find it convincing, which God? What's the test? How do you get it right?
Well, I think Islam is one of the only religion that looks at life as a test.
No. Oh, man, no.
No?
No, literally all the Abrahamic religions do to some degree.
But let's just imagine that you're correct. That didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
Which God? What's the test? What's the right answer?
Well, I see that it solves a lot of my problems. I think it solves the problem of evil. It solves the problem. Sorry?
Which God? What test? What's the right answer?
As I understand it, I look at it as He is Allah, and what tests life, and how we get to the test, right, is doing what is
No.
right?
No. Okay, we got an answer to which God, Allah. And then you said, which test? Life. That's not a test. You need to, so life is definitely life. If you think that life is also a test, what is the test? Because what is it? What is the goal? What that the test is? What is the answer?
Okay. Yeah. So I think the goal is to show that you're worthy living in paradise.
Okay, that's not an answer. I mean, it's a response. If you say the test is to show that you're worthy of living in paradise, first of all, what reason do you have to think that there's any paradise? And how do you demonstrate that you're worthy? Because you find this thing convincing, you find this argument compelling, but what if it's a test to see whether or not you can be reasonable in the face of irrational claims? What if it's like a big intelligence test, and buying into any religion is an epic failure?
Yeah, that is a good question. I don't think I thought about it in that way, to be honest.
Yeah, lots of times when we find some sort of argument or claim compelling, it's good to have further questions. And so for me, if somebody says, hey, all of life is a test to see if you're worthy to enter paradise, then my questions are, which paradise? How do you know there's a paradise? What must I do to demonstrate that I'm actually worthy? What is the correct answer to this test? And what reason do I have to believe that it's true? And what if there's some other test? Like if you find it compelling that life is a test, what if it's a test to find out how gullible you are? What if it's a test to find out, whether or not you were born with color vision or decent hearing, or, maybe those things are criteria. Or if you think that it should be available to everybody, is all of this available to everyone? And so you found a claim, an assertion about life. I don't understand personally, and maybe I get why people think this, and maybe Jimmy has a different thought on it. I don't view life as a test. I'm not even sure how I could. I certainly agree. Like, for example, someone that I follow and talked about on the Hang Up has recently been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I've had open heart surgery and a heart attack. There are trials and difficulties in my life and in the life of the people around them, both health issues and financial issues and relationship issues. To look at that and see agency as if all of this was put here as a test, wouldn't that mean that the God in question is just a big asshole who's decided to create people, not give them good evidence for his existence, not interact with them in any detectable, verifiable way, not have a conversation with them at all, but just start throwing hurdles up in their life for them to jump through to demonstrate that they're worthy of paradise, but not doing it equitably. So like, I get the hurdle of a heart condition, somebody else gets the hurdle of pancreatic cancer, somebody else gets the hurdle of an athlete's foot. How is that remotely a fair test?
Yeah, no, that is a good question. I guess for me personally, I do think it's kind of it's a little like you said. It maybe talks to my ego a little. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the aspects of it. But when I look on all the different religions, I find it most compelling. I don't know why exactly, other than that it solves a lot of other problems in my eye, especially the problem of evil, like why, for example, evil exists.
It sounds like it solves the problems that you have a list of questions that you think it answers, while what Matt's just done with you is revealed it creates a bunch of new questions that you're comfortably ignoring. I think it's actually pretty self-aware of you to acknowledge that maybe there's ego as a part of it, because I think that that's true, not in a degrading way. I think that you put a lot of significance in the question, why is there evil, as though it must have some large existential answer, besides the fact that humans are imperfect, our psychology varies, we're often very selfish, and also culturally we have terrible norms reinforced, and we're a developing species like you would expect us to be. And so I think you do just have this set of like, here are some questions, and unanswer, proven or not, and in this case not, feels better to me than no answer, or an I don't know answer, or a scary answer, like evil exists because many people are evil. You almost want to separate that out and create some existential thing that where evil is going to get conquered, like we're all living in Lord of the Rings or something. I think you're romanticizing and fantasizing something, because at the end of the day, while you two were discussing whether or not the premises made any sense, I don't even know why are you starting with there is a God and the explanation of how he's doing this is a test, because a test itself doesn't necessitate a God either. You could say this life is a test and there are people observing in the way that someone is doing a scientific test, and that there's no rewards, that there's no, just there being a test wouldn't be a proof of God. We have no proof of a test, but we certainly could be in some sort of Truman show and being tested in some way. Doesn't seem remotely likely. So what about somebody says this life is a test, And apparently you only heard that from Muslims, even though it's literally the core of Christianity, Mormonism, parts of Judaism. What about that phrase proves to you there's a God? Just that you feel like it means you no longer have to ask some questions you're uncomfortable with?
I guess it solves the problem I am uncomfortable with.
Doesn't solve, because solve would mean you could.
Well,
So something that is solved has a demonstration of basically proof. It doesn't solve it. It just
Right.
puts an answer there. You can now move on and pretend that it's true, in the same way that people are in denial about a lot of things, like the death of their loved ones, utilizing religion.
But when you say other Abrahamic religions also believe that it's a test, I do agree to a certain point. But if we look at, for example, Christianity, the answer is that you get your salvation through Jesus Christ. In the Islamic religion, it's more tangible and more concrete thing you have to do. For example, you actually have to say you're sorry to the people that you sin against.
No, to the Muslims that you sin against, first of all.
Right.
You don't have to be sorry to an infidel. But beyond that, you're cherry picking. There are sects of Christianity that believe that faith without works is dead, is the phrase. That you faith in Jesus Christ is how you first get into the testing facility, and then you have to do the work to be worthy of heaven, or in the case of my religious tradition, get into one of the tiers of heaven. So no, that's, again, not exclusive to, in fact, the one that's the most compassionate is probably versions of Judaism, where it's sort of like, nobody's going to be perfect. We don't have a concept of hell. When you die, if there's an afterlife, it's just sort of like hey, that's what you did with your life. There were the lessons that you were supposed to learn. If you didn't learn them, maybe you'll learn them now, but we don't even know if there's an afterlife. Like, that's probably the most compassionate version of an Abrahamic, this life is a test, I've heard of. And there's still no reason to believe it. Again, why is any of this making you believe in a God in the first place?
Well, like I said, it's mostly the problem with evil that I find a compelling answer to.
Express the problem of evil to us, because I've only put words in your mouth so far on it.
Well, that evil at all exists, that people are evil. I do think that there needs to be consequences for things like that. I don't see. Maybe this will sound a little childish, but I want people to be punished for what they do.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Should I then create fantasies of their eternal punishment or some ethereal punishment based on the fact that I want it to be true? Is something true because we want it to be true?
No.
Okay, so you're talking to two skeptics. We wait to believe something until there's a good reason. Are you saying you're comfortable with believing things before there's a good reason?
I guess so, yeah.
Are you really? Okay, so now that you're saying that out loud and you're acknowledging it, are you looking to continue your life with such an admission? Or are you saying you've done that to this point and now you're recognizing you shouldn't have?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was
Go on.
There was a question that came up in chat, which is common when we start talking about trials and tests and all this. And somebody was like, why would God need to test you? Because God already knows the answer. That's not, in a biblical sense or in a Quranic sense, that's not what tests are. They're not, it's not like God's giving you a test so that he can discover whether or not you're worthy, or they can discover whether or not you're worthy. No. God's giving a test to benefit you so that you know you're not worthy and strive to do it. It's the whatever whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger type thing, where God's going to keep putting these obstacles in your path because you need those in order to become worthy of entering paradise, or to see that you're never going to be worthy on your own and you're going to reach out to God, or whatever the eschatology is, to determine, or the soteriology to let you know what your path to salvation is. But in this case, to me, the notion that it's all a test basically means you've got some kind of God up there who's just fucking with people in order to help them reach some criteria that he's responsible for setting, So you ask yourself, is there a paradise or a hell or damnation or whatever else? Do you have any good reason to think that's true? No, but let's just assume that there is. The next thing is, how do I tell which one of those I get to go to after I'm dead? Well, that's the entire field of soteriology, of salvation, of what must one do to be saved. And so with the life is a test mentality, you're back to what I said before. You've essentially got a God who doesn't interact with people, doesn't give them clear evidence, doesn't communicate with them. And how do you even know what its criteria is going to be for determining your salvation? You can't just say, well, it says so in the book, because now you've got to explain why you're going to trust that book over some other book. And why, if God's given you a clear message in a book, why wouldn't God just give you the clear message in person? Is that impossible? One question that I'm going to start asking way more often is, on someone's particular God model, what evidence is their God incapable of presenting? Not unwilling, but incapable. What kind of evidence could your God not do? Because could your God reveal himself completely to everybody in the universe all at once? Because if your answer is yes, and he hasn't done it, then your God is a dick who is judging people undeservedly. The criteria, once he starts playing favorites, all of that gets to, hey, there's no reason for us to believe any of this.
Yeah, I think you both for getting me to think about things I haven't really thought about. That's why I like talking to people.
Before the call, at the beginning of the call, you said you were a doubting theist, and I'm just curious because it sounds like you're saying you were just recently exposed to this Islamic concept. What was your theism defined as before? What sort of theist were you?
I just I would say I was a deist, that I just believed that there was a God that had created the whole thing and went away.
Okay. All right, we can unpack that if you want, but we don't have to. Deism is honestly one of the most boring conversations, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the same thing I already told you. Do you believe things before you have a good reason or after? And deism's more of a like, oh, wouldn't it be nice proposition than one anyone should take as a as
may I ask a question?
Sure.
So when it comes to, for example, the problem of evil, I think that, like, I would say that the cornerstone in my doubting atheist. But how do you solve the problem of evil in an atheist from an atheist point of view?
To be clear,
well, the problem of evil. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to be clear, you said your problem of evil was that you want people to have consequences for being evil, and you want those to be in some way dished out after we die or something, right? Is that the problem you're saying, or is there a different? Because problem of evil doesn't usually mean that to men.
Why it exists in the first place.
Okay, so you specifically why evil exists in the first place. All right, sorry for interrupting, Matt. I just wanted to get clarification.
So the problem of evil in philosophical circles has a very specific meaning. And that is, why is there evil if there's a good God who exists and is capable of preventing or stopping this evil? When you say, how do you solve the problem of evil with atheism? It goes away. Because if there is no God, then there is no problem of evil. Because there's no benevolent God who could be fixing it. What you have is a state of affairs where people are looking around going, gosh, this world seems like it's mighty unfair, doesn't really care about me, includes some bad things. And the answer to that is yes. The universe doesn't give a flying fuck about you. The notion that there's a God up there who does is fantasy. The notion that there's a God up there who can do good things and just chooses not to is a slight against any God that would have existed.
Okay, thank you both.
Sure. Thank you. I think I've already... Say it for me one more time. Was it Yngve? Yngve?
Yngve, yeah.
Yngve. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Yngve.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow. I'm the executive producer of The Line, and at night I sneak into Matt Dillahunty's house and I trade his cereals for other cereals. He comes out and he's like, wait, these are cereals I buy, but I swear I had different cereals. Anyway, would you like to support this channel or any specific show? You can do so over on Patreon or in channel memberships. There are special tiers for special shows or for the channel at large, and it helps us expand programming as well as hopefully very soon launch it in podcast form. Now, also, if you'd like to support, you can like, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment or a super thanks, which is a special highlighted comment that you pay for. Those are fun. And, you know, screw the algorithm, go check out something over here, I suppose. Boy, I hope I can still put those icons there, because if I can't, this is going to look really stupid. I'm going to go buy some Cocoa Puffs and switch out Matt's mini wheats now.